It is Ireland against France. It's La Finale, the showdown with everything on the line.
Playing Ireland at the moment is the revelator of really where you are.
If I was Sean Edwards, I'd be scared of us.
What is Ireland's plan for DuPlan?
He's a sixth sense for a lazy player. Ireland have to be perfect.
If you are Steve Borthwick, do you treat this as you would France?
I would ask serious questions if you can't go out and actually attack these two games.
Saturday really will dictate how really good this French team are. So we want to see how we challenge ourselves in front of the best. You know, that's the idea.
Who needs Ben Eubank when you got these two three-piece across the table at each
My
other?
eggs.
Exactly.
Into the final moments, Alex Payne trying to keep this side going forward. Haskell takes it on now with just relentless chat, largely about himself. And there's Tyndall to add the finishing touch of glamour and World Cup winning stories. That is how you podcast.
Wheels up and away we go. Hello Dream Team, welcome along to this week's episode of The Good, The Bad and The Rugby, proudly sponsored, as always, by our very good friends at Continental Tyres, our go-to for premium tyres. You know by now, but at Continental, safety, performance and grip are the name of the game. The complete opposite of this unpredictable show where we're never quite sure how the journey will unfold. So buckle up once again, kick back and enjoy the ride. It is a big one today. It's a big one this weekend. It is Ireland against France. It's La Finale, the showdown with everything on the line. The last time Shane was here, we talked about the evolution of this Ireland squad, and now with Healy, O'Mahony and Murray all announcing their international farewell, can they go out with what would be a fairy tale finish? And over in the French corner, they've been blowing a bit hot and a bit cold. So the old cliche is back once again. We dust off the old question, which France is going to show up. I'm so sorry to do that.
It feels safer from the start. Hask
does.
isn't here, so we've got another back in. So hands are. I mean, we've got a front row forward, which is, but he was a fantastic ball handling.
Played
it forward.
We can talk some rugby this week as well, which is very nice. No pressure, of course, on Wales and Italy. What havoc can they unleash in round 4? We'll get into a little bit of that as well. But before we get underway, if you don't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below as well. Shall we start in Dublin? As we said last time you were on the show, we were talking about the age profile of this squad. Should we begin, therefore, with a bit of a doff of the cap to Cian Healy, 136 caps, Peter O'Mahony, 111, Conor Murray, 124. Gone? Not yet?
Yeah, not
Certainly
yet.
not forgotten.
Yeah.
It's more than a whole international team.
It is.
371 caps.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
That's a knock and a half.
I don't know what I was doing with my time, really.
What's the news been like in Ireland around that?
Sort of,
About time.
blanket.
Yeah.
Blanket. It's very rare that any international rugby career you get to pick when you're leaving. Just doesn't happen. You know,
Yeah.
you have it in your head, don't you? You think, well, I'm going to do this and have the, do the Brian O'Driscoll and the banner come up in the background. And
He
you do
had
your
about
lap of honour.
42 farewell parties, didn't he?
He had it
last game
well.
the RDS, last game.
He flagged it well, but you don't always get to do that, and these guys have. I'm delighted that they get their moment in the Aviva, and I also think it's been pretty smart and strategic of Ireland to release it the week before the French game. Because
Emotive.
One, it doesn't cannibalise this whole week, but it is a backstory. Most of the talk about it, all the articles, the podcasts, everything was last week. It engages the Aviva audience, which is going to be necessary against France, and it's like an earlier kickoff on a Saturday. So get your fingers out, guys, and make sure you're really into it. And even if it's 1 or 2 extra % from the rest of the players, maybe, or even those players coming on and making an impact, like that could be the difference in the
And on the ref, you don't know.
Yeah.
The ref might get overwhelmed by this. I mean, you're going to blow the final, penalty to send them off on a loss at the Viva. I think it's very clever. I think
Are you going to give Peter O'Mahony a yellow card for getting in over the ball? He
can go wherever he wants.
couldn't do it.
It's free license today. He'll be diving over rocks. He'll be
you'd be sure.
And it's funny. Sorry, what you're saying, but Cian Healy has been going on for forever. I think it's probably lack of new talent coming through. Conor Murray doesn't really play anymore with Gibson Park running the show. Still a brilliant player. Peter O'Mahony, correct me if I'm wrong, but was he not elected captain just after the last World Cup?
Well, he was captain last year.
So why did they not know that there was a potentiality of him not going to Australia, basically?
I don't know if they didn't know that. I don't know when this decision was made or for any of them. I would say it's a relatively long time in the making. I think Keane and Peter are retiring from all rugby, so they're finishing. But I think Conor is going to look for a year in France.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing. But announcing it in the middle of the Six Nations is, listen, they deserved a goodbye. You do, that was right to do. But I do think it's been managed really well, and I do think if there is a slight advantage to be taken from it, that's what we're going to see.
100%. Yeah, I mean, if you put it in Ireland's perspective, it is Ireland are arguably the best team in the world when there's a purpose to play for. You know, they need to look at like Foley ruining an England Grand Slam. The best of Ireland comes out of it. So giving them the send-off and realising that I think they've done it before this to switch everyone's mind on. If I was Sean Edwards, I'd be the fucking scared of us. They're fucking scared of us. That's why they've done it. They're trying to get an emotive reaction. No, that's why.
That's a heck of it. I mean, you bring all three on at once.
Oh,
I mean, they
bring the house down.
Yeah, bring the house down.
Do you know?
Do you play that? Is that a nostalgic? Can you play that card? Or
I think
play if you need it.
Well, there's two things. There is an element of mass substitution now anyway. It's not to say that Peter O'Mahony could potentially start as well. That's the thing. It's not that wouldn't be sort of beyond the realms of possibility. Also, we might go into a little bit later. It depends what the split in the bench is. Ringrose not about maybe influences that change in the bench as well. But for two things, you would say mass substitution is something we see, and that just as a general strategy coupled with the noise that happens and the expectation that happens, and you would think the impact that would happen if you brought all three on at once. Poof.
One of those great moments.
And substitutions have been positive for Ireland in this Six Nations. It won the game, or certainly went a long way to winning the game against England, and then even sort of Bundy Aki coming on for
for a nose break.
He came on when Ringrose was upgraded to a red. He had a massive impact as well.
Pop quiz. So O'Mahony, Healy and Murray have all won 5 championships. One player who's won 6 and one player who's won 7. The 6 is old school and Welsh.
Yeah. I would have got the other one. I know who it is. But.
And the 7 is English and a great.
Just think about how many years someone's played for England.
So
limits the position.
I would say.
Do you want to
Leonard?
Yeah, Leonard at 7. 7 championship titles. Those were the days as an England fan.
Easy to come by back then.
Yeah, okay, sure. A couple of Five Nations in those up.
A lot less teams.
And the 6 was JPR. So if they win, on Saturday, essentially Ireland are home and host. So Healy, O'Mahony and Murray would move level with JPR at 6. That's given the years that I spent watching Ireland in the 90s and early noughties.
Yeah.
That is a heck of an achievement.
Yeah, it is, and scarcely believable.
Yeah,
for somebody who grew up in the 1980s in Ireland post 85 and the Triple Crown, and that a horrific barren spell, all the way up until into the noughties. And we were doing some analysis of results pre the Scotland game, because Ireland had gone on this massive winning run. I think it's now at least 11 games on the trot. That they've beaten Scotland. Yeah. But I was sort of on the Wikipedia page, you go back a little bit further and you see Ireland didn't beat Scotland for the whole of the 1990s.
That is mad.
Didn't beat them. So, and that's not that long ago, but to think that we would have a group of players who could be, in that same league is bananas. But listen, all three of them, incredibly talented players at different times. Certainly, I would say Murray was the best 9 in the world at a point. Cian Healy wouldn't have been a million miles off, and Peter was like a captain of the Lions as well. So all at really very elevated individual level, and came through adversity at different times to have, and you have to come through adversity to have careers that long and play for Ireland for that long. They're like I think and finally the kind of. There will be a loss to Ireland, right? Because you can't not be a loss. That level of experience, I think the comfort of having seen it all and done it all and won so much, that brings something to training camps and squads. But what they've all done is transition quite well out of it. They haven't dropped out. They're all subs.
They've handed the baton on over 18 months.
They have, and I wasn't aware of this, but even Cian Healy's been doing mentoring with props as well. So that's kind of all you can ask, isn't it? It's all you can ask. So they've done exceptionally well. They're heroes.
Can I throw you one hot potato, which is that with obviously Murray and O'Mahony moving on, next year Ireland's centrally contracted players, 11 of the 14 are Leinster. Matt Hansen of Connacht, Bundy at Connacht and Tyg Byrne at Munster are the only non-Leinster centrally contracted Irish players next season. At what point does that become a problem?
It's a problem now. It's been a problem for a little while. It's been flagged. It has two problems, right? It skews the finances of the provinces. Now I know there is a plan in place to sort of rectify that, so it's not as impactful, and teams can the other provinces can compete on a more level playing field. But that's only one side of the ledger. The other is that these players and plenty more are being generated by Leinster. It's not like Leinster are buying these players. They're just generating the vast majority of talent in Ireland is through Leinster. Now, Leinster
is that as well down to schooling? And most of the big schools are around in that Leinster and catchment.
Listen, there's definitely a population thing there, but there are still it shouldn't be as skewed as it is. And actually, if you look at those big schools, there's only a few schools that are actually bulk suppliers to Leinster as well. It's not like it's now. There has been some development in this area with the youth system that I went through, but also actually some of the less famed schools, especially this year, are doing well in the senior cup. So there is expansion in Leinster as well. Not quite what it might be, but the other provinces and particularly Munster just aren't generating talent in the way that they used to, and that has to be addressed. And I believe there's a plan in place for it, but it's also not going to change overnight.
One for another day, perhaps. On to France. Can I ask the question, or would you like to start with something a bit more generic and...
Who's coming on Saturday?
Or...
Look, you can ask the question if you want.
Which French side will turn up on Saturday?
He's been a bit like this recently. He did it with England. He did it with England last week.
I'm just trying to engender a little bit of competitive debate. That's it. Is that? Are we beyond that now? Having seen
so. I hope so. But clearly, they made me lie in Twickenham a couple of weeks ago, where we were just clumsy and we didn't seize the opportunities.
Look, I think dropsies happen. England did it against Scotland in the Six Nations last year. Then it becomes infectious, and everyone's then going, "Don't drop it," and then you drop it more. It's you just have to look a week later on what they did to Italy. They're too good. It's too good a team, too good a depth, and I hope they rock up on Saturday. I think it's for the neutral and for the Englishman. It's better if France win because it extends it out. I just hope it's a great game. Really.
You must be unbelievably confident after that 80 points. Must be unbelievably.
73. Exaggeration.
It's almost like you lean over and go, take it easy on that.
Listen, seen this story before.
We're looking for a team.
They're always so good.
Turn up and
every fan is
hopefully play our part.
Take it easy on us, lads.
Play our part.
Look, we will be there. We will be up and ready. I think the worst possible news for France was what we just discussed about, is the retirement of those three Irish legends. They will be super pumped for it. The best possible news is Ringrose apparently not been suspended and Romain Tabac have been suspended because they counted the UCR games and they didn't count the top 14 ones. That is the best news I've heard.
Right.
Because they will be fuming about that and they will not be talking about
Hopefully
that.
They've sacked their legal guy.
Well, apparently they've reached out. They made an official complaint, I think, to World Rugby to challenge the decision and get an explanation of why the two similar scenarios who have different outcomes.
It sounds like it was just a legal one, wasn't it? The legal guy did a better job for the Ireland guy.
Probably. Just ours was away for lunch between 12 and 4.
Different legal systems.
Friday afternoon. No, so look, they'll be up for it. They'll be ready. There's been a few changes also. Yes, we had Romain Tabac suspended, but Meafu also was missing. And Tins is right. In Italy, I think they handled it beautifully. DuPlan and all the boys came about. But you said it just before we started. I think Ireland-France is the playing Ireland at the moment is the revelator of really where you are. You used to wait an entire year for in November have the ABs come around and see. Let's really see what England is about. Let's really see what France is about. Let's really see what Ireland is about. And now in Europe, it's definitely the barometer of international rugby, at least in Europe and Northern Hemisphere, is definitely Ireland. So
nice turn around. Nice turn in the tables.
Yeah.
So we want to see how good
you two
we
are
are.
just gonna. It's like a lazy Susan in the middle. You two are just spinning magnets. Yeah.
So we want to see how we challenge ourselves in front of the best. That's the idea. No, but genuinely, it'll be an incredible game. I can't wait for it. I think the excitement is there. If need be, then you have the three legends going, and so the place will be cracking. But I really do hope that we'll have all the ingredients for no excuses.
Yeah.
For let's really see head-to-head 80 minutes, no decision of the ref, no injuries from now, none of it, and let's have a fantastic game of rugby.
Who needs Ben Eubank when you got these two across the table? With each other? Exactly. You took a deep breath.
No, I was going to say, like, the worry if I'm a French fan is, I can't remember whether it was a couple of years ago, you think France thrive on the chaos, and I remember 2 years ago it was chaotic, but then Ireland's order just ended up winning the day. So I think France have to be aware of that. But I just want to see both teams be allowed to put. I hope the ref doesn't really get involved and just lets the game sort itself out.
But there's also and I'm not rubbing it here and here, but I think Ireland, a little bit like the All Blacks, are so good in the rucks and they suffocate you so much that you're thinking that you've got a chance in attack, and all of a sudden from minute 2 your game plan has to change. I really thought Scotland could do the job on them in Merrifield a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking, look, they're on fire. Ireland had a couple of rotations, and I'm thinking they can do it. From minute 2, you're like, wow, it's impossible. You simply can't play them. They choke you, they fight. You said Ty Byrne, he's an animal in the ruck, and they really made an absolute mess out of it. I think in terms of pure intuition, creativity, we can be ahead in attack. I think in the ruck dominance, they really are.
Their ruck has improved really significantly from the autumn, which was an issue. Because you're kind of like, in the autumn I was going, well, where's Ireland going? Because the whole thing is the ruck.
The All Black game in particular.
Yeah, the accuracy of the ruck, discipline, the kind of foundations of the Irish game, structure. That's what you expect from Ireland. It wasn't there. And I've been really impressed with them this Six Nations. I think where you see the structure, they've been better at ruck time. They've been more disciplined. Kicking game is better. They're not getting to the situation which Ireland for quite a number of years have done. If they're in that middle third and they overplay, and then they can get turned over. It's a big sapper of energy. We've seen them kick a lot of ball in that area, and actually even closer to the opposition 22, and said, right, listen, you have it, just get out of here, which I think is refreshing for Ireland, and that's a good plan.
England get booed for that, by the way.
Yeah. But I suppose when you mix it up with other things for the odd time.
And you win.
But the other
one, all right, back off, pal.
Yeah, I know. The guns are out.
Pull me,
They really are.
Supposedly round 4.
Yeah, ringside.
Don't pull poor England into this. We just want to be where you guys are.
The other big thing is the line out. Listen, scrum, I'm not giving, this is not like, my God, what insight. Scrum and line out are going to be important. But interestingly, if I was coaching against Ireland any time in the last couple of years, I would go, we got to get after the line out in a big way, because if that breaks down, one, it's susceptible to breaking down, and two, that's lots of their best starter plays come off the line out. So I was really surprised at the tactics of England in the first round. They didn't challenge Ireland in the line out at all. They didn't put anyone up against them. Like, they stayed on the ground almost for the whole time. And so Ireland had a perfect line out. Scotland did a bit more challenging. Ireland lost a few line outs. And then Wales didn't pick anyone to go after the line out either. So both Wales and England picked sort of the back rows to go over the ball, and didn't retain a line out capability. And I was like, why on earth are you doing that? So I'd imagine France will be going after the line out.
Well, I wonder if those were selections based on the problems that you saw in the autumn, rather than the solutions they seem to have found in that time.
Yeah, and listen, then the scrum will be the other piece where they'll be looking at, and they will have seen the trouble that we had against Wales, particularly sort of in the opening half, and go, right, no scrum, no win.
What sort of a challenge do you expect in those elements from France?
They'll be up for it. There's you talk about the scrum. There's also one key man in Ireland. It's Porter, and he's so dominant at loose heads that if you don't, tire him out and keep him in there and let him do his thing, it can be extremely problematic. And that was the case against Wales, where he just couldn't find the edge on this tight head with the bald head, who just come back from international duty.
John.
That's it. Who I thought did brilliantly well. And Porter just couldn't get into his game. You get pinged once, twice, then you start being more careful because you don't want to let a silly penalty. So I think Winnie Antonio will be right down the alley. If I can manage to milk a couple against Andrew Porter, keep him guessing, don't let him use his brute force, then all of a sudden you're in his head. I think Dan Sheehan is an absolute animal. He's a sensational rugby player. He's very tall. He's not made for scrummaging. And it's nothing to do with his physical ability, but he's too tall almost to be a hooker. So they're gonna attack that. They're gonna see a couple of little opportunities and try to seize them. But if you're gonna say yes, do France want to have a go in the scrum against Ireland? They want to have a go in the scrum against anybody. So definitely against a team who can exploit every single ball possession so well, they'll have a go at it.
What is Ireland's plan for DuPlan?
Everybody has to have a plan for DuPlan now, and Ireland actually have
the DuPlan.
Very. They've been.
Since has had his coffee.
They have been relatively successful against DuPlan over the years. Now, Leinster, less so in the European Cup final last year, but he just had a sort of a freak of every element of the game, and sometimes if a player does that, there's not a whole lot you can do, but. Ireland are actually
James Lowe.
Yeah, part of what makes Ireland is how structured they are and structured in defence, and how they sort of obey the rules of the defence. So what DuPont is brilliant at doing is around the rucks, exploiting people not getting set early enough, not spacing correctly, making poor decisions, and Ireland are quite good at all those things.
Yeah.
If Ireland aren't good at them, DuPont will exploit them. The other thing, this is the layer that makes France very difficult to play against, is because even if you get that right, DuPont can find a way to get out into the wide channels. He's a sixth sense for a lazy player, or someone who gets trapped into a ruck, or gets slightly, legs slightly in I can't get back in time, or is fatigued from a few rucks previous. He's a sixth sense for it, and he goes at that man and he kills you. And so, Ireland have to be perfect 100% of the time, and that it's the one time he will exploit. And that can change a game.
But we're talking about that. But if I'm Gibson Park, this is the game you want to play, isn't it?
Okay. Can I just ask you about the significance of this game for France? What are the sort of headline writers scribbling in France at the moment about the significance of this week?
It's big. It's the revelator. It really is the moment where you're going to challenge yourself. Let's see really how good you are and how over you are from the last World Cup and everything you were explaining, and the Antoine Dupont being in with the sevens, so that change of guard, and that Sean Edwards' defense, who was looking a little bit limpy, and all of a sudden it's good. It's the revelator. You can explain whatever you want. It's when the best come, you need to deliver. Now, we did it in November by just snatching a victory against New Zealand, but it was really a short one. And we did it with a lot of heart with Thomas Ramos at 10, and you can only explain, but Ntamak wasn't there because he hurt his calf, etc., etc. And that's sort of what's been the conversation around. I think, to go back to the Antoine Dupont point, you say you're crediting him for all his attack around the ruck, which is true. I think they're clever enough to understand also that against Ireland it's going to be a different ballgame, and it's going to be a different level. And so all the press and all the guys within the team are saying this is the weekend where we really can impose the marker and decide whether for our own faith or whether we're as good as we think we are, to also potentially give ourselves the ability of going for the win on the last round and for the last game in that Super Saturday, because we will see all the results, and France are playing Scotland at 9 p.m. in Paris. So that's going to be the challenge for them. Miafu will be back. Ntamak will be back. Saturday really will dictate how will conclude how really good this French team are.
Actually, that's a really interesting point, because there are a couple of times when you have to stand up as a generation and prove what you are. Otherwise, you're not that generation.
Yeah.
And this is it, because it's been this. They haven't had as much success as they have. Whatever about Ireland, maybe overachieving slightly. This French team has underachieved for certain.
Okay, we'll come on to England in a moment. See how that fits in. Can I ask you just, again, not a hot potato necessarily, but there has been an increasing amount of volume around the 5-year residency rule. And when you look at James Lowe, Jamison, Gibson Park, Bundy Aki, and the impact that they have had for Ireland, this subject of residency seems to be sort of growing a little bit. I know every nation is at it in some form or another, but 5 years residency, keep it?
I think it's about
Scrap
right.
it?
No, I think it's for 5 years. I think if you commit to a country for 5 years, I think you shouldn't have played for certainly a tier 1 nation, a cap for them. I think once you do that, you're committed, and I don't think you should be able to even return to your own country of birth. I don't think that makes sense. I think it makes sense with tier 2, and that's what it was employed for. I think the upgrading from 3 years to 5 years isn't insignificant. 5 years is a lot of time to spend in a country, and I think if you commit often with your family and play in a country for 5 years, you representing that country, I think, is absolutely normal and not an issue. But I would keep it at 5 years. And actually, for example, James Lowe is now an Irish citizen. He's a full Irish.
I was going to say, France, you need a passport. You need a French passport to play for the French team. It's more than just the 5 years, but you can get a passport after 5 years living and working in the country. No, but you joke, but Olivier Tiraka, everything was delayed. Meafou could not play the last World Cup because of that. He was waiting on his passport. Yeah. So they've been very strict about it. I think it's the way to go.
I also think as well, listen, I know the grandfather rule is there as well, but I think somebody who, again, moves their whole life over to a country, commits to a country for 5 years, and maybe plays for the province or the region or a club during that time. Yeah, like they've a greater connection than many people whose grandfather, and they 100%. Rock over, and and it's happened with Ireland before. Someone that had a very sort of grandfather pretentious connection, had been trying to get into another system their whole life, comes over and jumps in and starts immediately. Yeah. I don't know.
There's actually also the inversion of that as well, which is that you tell me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that James Lowe and Bundy Aki have become far better players in Ireland than they would have been if they'd stayed in. Well, James Lowe would not be a 50 cap All Black.
No, I don't think so at all.
Bundy Aki,
and there's different reasons for that. So they've all, and like Gibson Park, sort of totally, these guys are maximising their ability and have got way better. If you look at Bundy Aki 5 years ago and Bundy Aki now,
different player.
And actually James Lowe, when he first came out, like James Lowe was a really explosive guy, but what he's added to his game over the last number of years, it's exceptional.
Yeah,
kicking game, way better at defence, way better kicking, like key player for Ireland in so many. He's like Ireland's talisman at the moment.
So a couple of, therefore, what are they? They're sort of questions around, I suppose, the England. Do England need, given we're talking about this, Bernard Janse van Rensburg? Sticking point is that he can't play for England, although he's done 5 years, because he played for South Africa under 20 in 2016. So he's now not eligible.
That's an extreme case. I think 2016, so nearly 9 years ago.
Should your 5 years residency qualification then overtake anything that you have done at age group level?
Yeah, I think. I sort of get torn on this because I think by the time you're 21, you know which country you want to play for, but at the same time now, with how easy it is to move around in rugby leagues and play somewhere else, you can still find your home, and a lot of South Africans do find that home in other places because of it's all about work, and if they're comfortable there, they'll stay there. And so look, do England need Van Rensburg? I'm not entirely sure.
He wouldn't get into the team.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but would I say to him he wasn't allowed to try? Well, no. I think if you've been here 5 years and you've done that time and you've paid your taxes and you've done everything else, you should be able to throw your name in the hat, and whether he gets it or not is, again, what he does on the field. So, I know Dave Ribbons is looking at going back the other way, isn't he?
South Africa, I think. Yeah.
Any problem with that? Well, not really. If England aren't going to pick him when he's playing abroad,
right. So, he'd be quite a useful addition, Dave. To the ranks.
So there's so many flaws to this because he can't get picked for England, which is ridiculous. So he's obviously, if he can flip that back, he's going to flip it back if someone's going to still pick him whilst he's playing in France.
Rugby, hey?
I don't know. I mean, in an ideal world, you just play for the country of your birth and you're happy. But when you're bouncing around.
We are a
find
long way from an ideal
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
On
Very
many,
far.
many
Very
levels.
far.
Okay, Tins, you've got a little line in this, because with the Guinness Men's Six Nations well and truly heating up, there's everything to play for in the remaining 2 weeks. If you can't make it to the games, fear not, Dream Team, because we've got you covered, Michael.
Delivering the best atmosphere on the high street, there's no better place to watch all the action than your local O'Neill's. With big screens that take you right to the heart of the game and the perfect pint of Guinness in hand, O'Neill's is the unbeatable choice for the Guinness Six Nations fans.
But that is not all, because St Patrick's Day is on the horizon. Ireland are looking to secure an historic third championship in a row. There's even more reason to visit, therefore. Join your local O'Neill's from March the 11th to the 17th for an epic week of St Patrick's celebrations. Enjoy the thrill of the Cheltenham Festival and non-stop sports as well, all leading up to the biggest St Patrick's Day party of the year, with unbeatable crack from dusk until dawn.
So grab your mates, grab a pint, and make this St Patrick's Day to remember.
Sláinte.
To the biggest party day of the year.
Oh, I can't believe I've done that.
Right, shall we talk Scotland-Wales, and then we'll do England-Italy. Scotland. Actually, let's do Wales first of all. What did we learn about Wales against Ireland?
They have two young electric wingers, and that Jack Morgan is a proper animal, and that Jenkins, actually, I was very much doubting that he was fitting for those big old boots of Alwyn Jones at international level. I thought he was brilliant against Ireland, and that Wales have heart, have a lot to offer. Are they as good as Ireland? No, that's what we know, but they are certainly a lot better than I've seen them for a long time 2 weeks ago. So can't wait to see them again.
We learned they should have got rid of Gatland a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to see. There's two sides to it. I think cutting Gatland and then picking those English-based players that people have been saying they should have picked.
Yeah.
Whilst you might get Gatz's point of view has made an instant, but I think this is a bigger week. Can they follow up everything that they did that week and show that it wasn't a one-off? It wasn't just a relief. It was that they're going to continue it. As I said, they had more line breaks, more defenders beaten, more offloads than Ireland, and put them under some real pressure. But Ireland's experience showed in the end. But they should be licking their lips at the next two games about and trying to play that way and play to their strengths and see where they go.
I thought that we're always going to get a bit of a bounce, and the kind of that dark cloud that has its end. And this is, I'm being flippant about Gatland, but once that dark cloud comes down, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like you have to get rid of the coach in order to get rid of it, and that happened. The selection was, in retrospect, a lot of those selections should have been happening during the Gatland era as well. It's kind of surprising.
But you can see why he was trying to plan for 2027, was the argument. And Gareth Anscombe will be 37 at that point, and therefore you're trying to find a 10 and give him some game time.
Yeah, but you also look at the selections. It wasn't as if he was picking absolutely all kids either. That wasn't the case. And you actually have to play what's in front of you as well.
Yeah.
You can't just think about a World Cup in 3 years' time, because as it happened, you don't get to the World Cup. There's a level of performance that you have to have just to keep everyone on side, keep the players on side, keep the fans on side, keep administrators on side, keep media on side. So, and that wasn't achievable. You can't just say, come back to me in 3 years, because there's everything that happens in the interim. And you can't just discard that. But what I thought was particularly interesting about Wales was, yes, I thought they'd picked the right side, but I didn't expect that side to have the cohesion that they had. And that was really impressive. And obviously there was the weight was off the Welsh players. I did think at a period there that Ireland were going to blow them away, and a crucial moment was around, because remember, Ireland came out very strongly and did very well. They were try up. That misplaced pass by Osborne to Ringrose when he was in from a try, that was kind of a crucial moment. And then Wales started putting a bit of pressure on Ireland, which they can do to any team. Ireland started making a couple of mistakes. Wales started putting a bit of continuity together, and he thought, all right, this is like a simpler thing than we've made out here. And the performance level of Wales was hugely increased.
So what therefore, Tins, represents success against Scotland? Is it another good performance, another sort of give it a crack?
I think Scotland, it's the team that I have said for numerous years I'd pay to go watch Scotland, but they haven't fired like that this Six Nations. There's a lot of pressure on Finn, I think, to sort of unlock how they want to play. I think against England, they know the good thing is they know where their strengths are. They know it's mainly with their back line, their back row, and they try and get their ball to their players that they know are their strengths. So, but they need a performance. I think for Wales, on a serious note, they'll want to go and win this game. They'll look at Scotland and go, well, hang on, they've lost twice now. They're a bit down in the pressure's on them. We still don't really have any pressure. I don't think they can feel that. I think with the new coach, Welsh new coach, what Nicky Robinson has said about him, he's a people person, and he's all about creating the environment where they enjoy it. And I think that's probably what you saw against Ireland, and he'll just be doing more of the same. So there's no pressure on him. He's only got it for 2 more games, and then we'll see how it goes. And he'll want those lads to go out and enjoy themselves. So seriously, Wales will be looking at actually going after and building on that and winning. And that's definitely how they should be thinking.
Finn's missed conversion has now really put the pressure on Gregor going into this Wales game. If Finn gets that conversion, Steve Borthwick is... Yeah, I mean, the pot is bubbling, isn't it? I mean, it's only 5 games over across 7 weeks or whatever it is. But when it goes, it can go very, very quickly now with the level of expectation we're all doing. Yeah.
It's probably horrible to coach in.
And playing, possibly. And actually, that leads us on to England against Italy, which is on Sunday afternoon. And I'm going to start with our very good friend Ellis Genge, in inverted commas. Retired rugby players are out of touch. England won. Stop moaning. So 2-3 retired rugby players. Has he got a point? All 3 of you have crossed the divide from player to pundit.
I think as players don't look at things as simply as that. They don't. Like at the very top level they do, but players know when they play well and when they don't, and they know when a team is functioning and when it's not. And yes, you can lean back into a victory and it covers a multitude, but players are smart enough now. You notice, don't take too much heed of interviews where players win. Or where they lose, but where they win. I know that's slightly at odds with this, but generally they're very good at breaking down their performances when they win because they feel as if they can do it.
Yes.
And
even admitting all the mistakes.
Even admitting mistakes, and then it's really weird.
But that's classic rugby. That's like we're not that good. It's sort of underplaying. Yeah, it's your Irish tactic again. I often think
then when we sort of, as analysts, then when we say the same thing that they've already said, there's an issue with them saying that. So listen, he can say that winning is the only thing, but winning is the only thing if you win all the way to a World Cup. Winning is not the only thing if you sort of get across the line against a Scottish team, having lost a game significantly in the opening game against Ireland, and not really being at the races for a championship for a number of years. It's not just winning isn't enough unless you're doing it in the and delivering championships as a result of it.
Yeah. I absolutely love the fact he's come out and said it, and he's really fired. And we want and we need players to do that.
I think it's just the journey of where they are. And Ellis wears his heart on his sleeve, which we all love about him. But I think it's more of a frustration of like, just please support us and help us work through this at the same time, which I sort of get. I've lived through that in England 2006, 2007. No matter what we did, it was shit. And you couldn't do anything. Poor Andy Robinson was just getting smashed, but you're still training as hard as you can. You care as much as you can as a player. And then it's just like when you care so much, and yes, it doesn't always go right, but you find a win, and yet you're still like, you're booed for the...
I've never asked you this. Why was it shit? Crystallise why that team... That didn't period, do what it could and should have done.
Everything, very similar to what Ellis is going. Everything that it said that we were trying to do was rubbish. From my point of view, it was always the centre's fault, because obviously Wilco was still at 10, so that's never an issue. It was always the centre's fault. And it was like me, Nooney, Tatey, Shante, whoever it might be in there, and whoever they changed, nope, that doesn't work. And you're like, well, fuck. You actually, now it got to the point where you're sort of, it's affecting you because all you're worried about is how you're going to be perceived in the next week.
So did the media play a part in that era?
Yeah, it was also the first time that, like, I remember Simmons literally going literally asking. First time I ever remember someone asking live on TV, a coach saying, "Should you resign?" Wow. In rugby. It was just when it just turned to that.
But that's the cloud you spoke about, that when it comes down, it's very, very hard to lift
Yeah.
up. I remember that era very well.
Well, I remember Eddie O'Sullivan being asked live on air if she resigned, and I remember the dead air as a result of the question. But listen, there's two different things here. There's also there's maybe this. If Genge is talking about the support in the stadium, I thought it was a very, very disgruntled Twickenham last time out. You could see it. They weren't happy. Their expectations are higher against Scotland than France. It was like that performance against France was fine because everyone thinks France is great, and they are. But they weren't accepting that style of game against Scotland or that performance against Scotland. So that was the case. Then you then take the media separately, and I'm talking about the English media. Even the English media, it's not your job to. They're not part of the English team. It's not up to you to get behind the team. It's not the way you analyse what's been going on as fairly and honestly as possible. That's the job of the media. So those are two very different things. And he needs to be sort of I like them pushing back on stuff. He's entertaining, so I'm not giving out to him or having to go at him for doing that. But there is a realism of what people's jobs are here, and it's not cheerleading for England or Ireland or France.
But I think I'm happy that he said it, because it means that there's fire in there and that he's a little bit pissed off. I think you also, the weight of the last 18 months must be not easy, wearing that white jersey, and you always underachieving. As pissed off as the commentators, the press, or even the fans at Twickenham can be, they'll never even come close to how disappointed the players are when they underperform and they lose and they feel that they let down the country, the jersey, etc. Now everybody's got a job. Some it's to try to dissect what it is with limited information too. Yeah. And so there's always that frustration of the players that you don't know everything. Well, tell us more then. Yeah. Open up, tell us more, show us more. But also it's because there's no ideal solution. There's no, if anybody has a plan to sort out England rugby to make it a World Cup winner in Australia in 2 years, come and tell me. But nobody has a perfect idea. Yeah. So I'm glad that he's got the fire. I'm glad that he said it. It's part of the game. Yeah. It's part of the pre-match. They don't respect us, and then everybody's against
us. Is there value in that?
But sure, we all did that. We all felt that at a time. And you do. Listen, you mature and you understand sort of different perspectives as you get older. But I was like, these couldn't stand the press.
Mourinho's built a career out of it.
Couldn't stand it, and you need that. It needs to be fractious. It can't all be too pally, and it's good to have something to rebel against. But actually, just cast a mind back to the autumn. I know England were getting stick in the autumn, but from my perspective, I felt like I was not making excuses, but I could see the sort of the positives of those England's performances beyond just the results.
But this is what fans are. And the point we were making last week is that England fans are really impatient. They haven't had
nobody's patient. We're not patient. None of the fans of any country are patient. It's just
that
when you don't win and when you're in that middle ground of one game in, one game out, it's a horrendous position to be in. And anybody else other than Ireland are in that position.
What do you make of England then? In what you have seen, are they riding their luck? Have they learnt to noodle a win when all around them is?
I wouldn't give any conclusions as saying they're good at finally finalising a win. All I can tell you is that against France, I was the first one disappointed with the lack of seized opportunities from France, but they're also pushed by a relentless defence by England and just never let go.
Yep.
And it could have not paid off 99% of the time, but it did, because they stayed in the fight and they managed to beautifully execute their last play. That's just gut. It's not a silly penalty at the end that you milk and you steal a win. They beat France that way, and they did it. Against Scotland, it's slightly different. Against Scotland, I felt that Scotland were all over them for the last 20 minutes and they were just hanging on by a thread, and they were ahead, right? And they would prevent Scotland from coming back, which is totally different. So I don't think you can give any conclusion. I'm just saying France was a step ahead for sure. It's finally the Finn Smith taking front stage and taking all the light and delivering. And Scotland, I think they'll be disappointed. They'll be super happy with the win, but they'll be disappointed with the performance.
I think positive is Finn Smith at 10. I think that debate is now settled. I think I've been disappointed with the way England have played in the Six Nations largely. Apart from maybe the opening half in Ireland, I thought was impressive for different reasons. I don't think there's an issue with commitment, as you said, and bottle. I don't like their tactics. I don't think they're maximising their players.
Discuss.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think these last two games could be still just as crucial for Steve about how the approach is. I think I've said this before. I like the players. I like the selections. I don't think there's any that I would change within it. What I don't like is their obsession with structure. You've got to find a way. Ireland find a way of getting James Lowe the ball in his hand. Scotland find a way of getting Van der Merwe. France find a way of getting whichever winger you want to pick and whichever fullback you want. They find a way of getting the best players with their balls in their hands. That sounds quite dodgy. Getting the ball in their hand. And England don't find a way of that. Slighto has a history of making things happen when he has the ball. Pretty much zero touches against Scotland. That is how you're playing. Now, we talked about it last week around Scotland, the pressure that they were under because it was just relentless attack. Sometimes it's like get the ball away from our line and let's breathe. But what Ireland showed against Wales is being able to take that pressure but still not forget how you want to play the game. And I think England haven't found that yet. And I think they are unfortunately hamstrung by structure at the moment. And it's always the forwards up and play it out the back, and it's never just ping it across the front. Finn Russell sometimes just stands and wings it to Hugh Jones and goes, right, have a go.
You have a crack.
And we never see that. It'd be very frustrating. Me as Henry, if I was Henry Slade, I'd be very frustrated about it. And Lawrence, Lawrence normally gets his touches off first phase and he makes line breaks. Well, let him touch the ball when it's in second phase, and that's also part of him going, right, actually now's my time. I say, I'm going to step up and just call for the ball, and your 10's going to hit you. And I think that's where they have to get better, and that's where I think these two games are just as important, because if we can't have the confidence to go, right, we'll out attack Italy and we'll back our defence to get us turnovers and we'll play off them. Is that
the mandate England should play to, which is to whack the attack to DEFCON 10?
They've got to whack it, right? They've got to believe that they can still win this tournament because France are going to go to Ireland and beat them, and they need to score a bucket load of points. So there's no point in going out there just winning the game and going, we've won 4 games and everyone's still disgruntled. You've got to go and actually make a statement that we can actually go and play.
Bazball it.
And last year, they had these 2 games first, and they were to save Steve's job, so he had to win them, and they were awful games. If he plays 2 awful games now at the end of this tournament, I still don't think it helps him.
Do you think it doesn't help him? Is that he'll?
Well, I think I would ask serious questions if you can't go out and actually attack these 2 games with still the chance potentially of being in the mix for a title.
Yeah, I think that Cardiff cauldron is beginning to bubble already. They need just 80 minutes from somewhere, from something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out and try and hit sixes on that occasion.
It's writing its own story. If they go and have a poor performance against Italy, and even if they scrape through or whatever, and they don't get 4 tries, don't get a bonus point, that story gets bigger and bigger.
We
quickly.
do say it, but Six Nations is deadly, isn't it?
This is my point 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Is when it goes, it just can get totally out of control without you really noticing.
And the stories that you think are going to be there, and maybe that Ireland-France story is a story we thought were going to be there at the start of the Six Nations, but this Welsh one is a different story. You said that to me 3 weeks ago. I'm having a different conversation to you about it.
I know, it's terrifying. Okay, so should we do a quick word on Italy?
Yeah.
How do they? What are we going to get from them? 70 points after.
What's
France.
really interesting, what you're saying, how quick it can go, is that there's always a context. Like we were saying originally, the O'Mahony and all these guys retiring, there's always a context. There's something added that wasn't planned for that just makes it different. Warren Gatland out, the new Wales, those 3 legends retiring, Gary Ringrose, there's always something.
Yeah.
And so this is what unfortunately was the case for Italy. It was meant to be a celebration of Italian rugby with Sergio Parisse kicking the drop goal. And for the long story short, the Sergio, I think, it was long overdue.
Yeah.
The celebration of this, beautiful human being and rugby and sensational rugby player. However, they forgot in the context that France messed it up at Twickenham a couple of weeks before, and that Antoine Dupont and stuff were trying to prevent themselves from having a storm at home. So I still think they played well. I still think there's a Brex-Minoncello partnership that is really lovely. Brex might be coming to Toulon. And Minoncello is a hell of a player. Yeah. I mean, he gassed Atisogbe. I think he went all around. We had a two-handed touch around him. And he's probably the fastest guy we have on the pitch. But France were too much on a mission, and there was a little bit too much. You can still see there's a proper step, and I think on their day, Italy, Ireland would have done the same thing, and that's probably what could potentially happen. Is it the last game?
No, I don't necessarily see Ireland being able to deliver that type of performance that France.
Because Ireland not as good as France.
No. Listen, and by the way, I think Ireland. I think Ireland should win the game against France. They should. If you look at where they're coming from, what they've done the last couple of years, they're playing at home. Like, there's no point me saying I don't think Ireland should win. They should win, and they'll be hugely disappointed if they don't. But I think the capacity, that sort of performance where they put 80 on a side,
73.
73. Sorry, it's just rounding up.
He's hyping the French.
That
is maybe almost unique to.
It is
this
totally
French
unique.
side,
It's totally unique. We would have done it 10 times. It would have not happened. And hence to my
point.
point.
I mean, unique to this French side. And it did remind me a little bit of the Toulouse game against Leicester. In the EPCR where they broke the back and then they just play in a different way. Yeah. And Ireland do retain more of a structure. You guys, when the shackles are off, I'm saying, it is the most beautiful thing to watch. And it's everybody's offloading, everyone's doing it, and there's angles going everywhere, and it looks like there's 2 extra men on the field. And I think that's unique to France. But I don't think, there's only certain teams France could deliver that performance against as well. And I don't think Ireland are a, 73-point team against Italy. Okay. But that's okay as well.
Yeah, we might just need a win. And
but then what you mean is that there's also not 70 points between France and Italy. It was just a potential game, and because after 40 you just let everything loose. Hence my point of Italy, and I don't mean this to make it a little bit better, but they're still very solid. They're still very threatening. They're still very good, and genuinely they will pose a proper threat to England at the weekend, and it will be no walkover, and they will come pissed off, and they will have that passion and the love of the jersey that's been hurt against France. I mean, it was a bit of a sad afternoon in the second half when you know that the storm was coming and that Sergio couldn't get his beautiful hurrah. So it will be some game, and you saw some glimpses of the new Italian side, Gonzalo Quesada behind all that. They still are threatening, sharp, good. They've got Menoncello and Brex again. But they'll be pissed off against England.
If you are Steve Borthwick this week, do you treat this as you would France and Scotland and Ireland? Or do you think, I want to see what Henry Pollock can do, or Tommy Freeman at 13, or I'm going to stick Jack Van Poortvliet back in? Or
I don't think England necessarily need to see a change in personnel. They need to see a change in approach and an ability to enjoy having the ball and actually playing with possession and actually then creating stuff. We have seen that over the past year, but they've ended up losing those games. So they need to go back to going out and going, right, let's enjoy ourselves and let's challenge and let's constantly challenge, manage your ends as and when, but that should come naturally. So it's more about how the style that they approach in terms of playing. I'd love to see our wingers get the ball off a strike or off a face play where they can actually have a go at someone, or we have those good enough players. Marcus Smith roaming and bouncing across the pitch looking for a seam and then cutting through is always dangerous when it happens. He makes so many line breaks, so many meters by doing that, but we haven't over the last 2 games created those opportunities for him. I think even in France he still made the most amount of meters at the weekend, and he made it 3 line breaks, so it can be done. But, how are Italy going to play? They're probably going to be quite loose. So leaving Marcus at 15, I don't see as a massive issue. And, because he didn't do well under the high ball against Scotland, who kicked to put him under pressure. So I think England it's all about how they approach the game and how they actually bit more freedom. We have to offload more. We're averaging something like 2 offloads a game, and that just allows defences to challenge you. And there's opportunities there for them.
So no rotations, just trying to make it better.
Yeah,
and I don't think they should rotate.
No,
they're not comfortable enough, and Italy will be taken very seriously.
Time for you, particularly Michael, to put your money where your mouth is, because it is the time of the week where Mystic Mike's predictions come to the fore. Would you like Horgan's horoscope or Ben's beliefs? No, why not? You can throw in a 2p. Everyone's favourite time of the week.
Ben's blind guesses.
Ben's bets.
Ben's bets.
In partnership with our very good friends at Hey Car, where you can search thousands of quality used cars and then buy online or at a local dealership. So, Michael, round 4, Saturday, 2:15, Aviva. Ireland, France, please.
Well, okay, I'm going to go with... So the bookies have obviously got Ireland favourites, but it's very, very tight.
By what?
-1,
Oof.
0.5.
Flick of a coin.
Now, I am, because it's for the good of the game, I'm going to root for France. I do sort of agree with Shane completely. Ireland will be expecting to win this game home, what they've done in the past. But I feel that France they really need to prove a point that they can win these big games, because unfortunately it's still a tag that hangs over them.
So you're falling into the trap.
No,
every single time you would need France to win.
Yeah, but I still love you. I still love you, Ireland.
No, it's all right.
I still love.
I'll send this on.
But I'm also thinking this with my English head on, in the fact that I want us to be in the mix for a proper
so you're betting with
Saturday.
all the wrong credentials here.
So I'm going to go. France are going to edge it, but it could be either way. It's 3 points either way, but I'm going to go by 3. France by 3. And if you want a score, I'm hoping it's going to be a cracker. And I'm going to go 32-29.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yeah.
Last minute drama, no doubt. Shane.
Shame and Shane.
Shame and Shane. You've done there.
Well
The
done.
shaman.
Well done.
It doesn't sit comfortably on me, as you guys know. But and I think that's a product of my career and where Ireland were when I was growing up and
The trauma,
playing.
the PTSD.
But Ireland should win the game. They are 2 times champions. They have I think rectified some of the issues that they're in the autumn. They have a really high quality team, as we know. They've had a good Six Nations up to this point. They've had a blip as well and dealt with adversity. And in order to win the Six Nations, you're going to have a blip, and then you have to deliver a really, really big performance. And you have to obviously win your home game. So at home, against anybody, Ireland are in a position now that we should be favourites. I think 1 point favourites is about right, because it's that narrow a game. And it will be horrifically difficult for Ireland to do it. But I think they should do it. So I think they might.
Ireland by 1. Are you going to say Ireland by 50 just to really pile the pressure on?
No, I think no excuses for France. We've got the lineup, we've got everybody, we've got the whole world looking at us. We've got the perfect setting, and like Tin said, if we want, realistically, if you want to say that you are a credible World Cup winner in Australia, you should be able to go and perform when you have everyone. We will not have the Meafu card. We will not have the Ntamak card. We will not have, all those little excuses that we can have, or the Jalibert upset. Now it's a tremendous mountain to climb for sure. And that's why I will go for a 1 point win for France. I don't know, 24-23, something like that. Oof. But I'm really, really hoping it's the weekend where France stand up and show how good they are, because realistically they haven't done it in a while.
Look at this. After all this posturing,
you both backed your own horse.
Yeah.
Giddy up. Hold on tight. France by 3 says Tins. Ireland by 1 says Shame and Shane. France by 1 says Ben. God, I hope we get something like that.
Yeah.
Hold your breath. Scotland, Wales.
Even Wales at 6-1.
Oof.
Is not a bad shout. I think it might be a step too far for them, but I think it'll be close, and I think Wales are going to back it up. I'm hopeful, because we need Wales to see some light.
Yeah.
Even though they'd never say that about England, I'm going to throw back that I love the Welsh, and we need it. We need them.
They can't win
firing.
this week, because then it has to come down to Cardiff, doesn't it?
So
One win to salvage a nation's
I think Scotland do win this. I think they win by 5, and I think it's going to be 28-23.
28-23. Ben?
Very close. The context, like we said, I believe that Wales are back. I really enjoyed the game against Ireland. We didn't even speak about the little hot stepper at fullback, and all those players, and Llewellyn. And I really see a new thing. However, if you put it in the context, Scotland will be fuming. They will be really up for it, and they'll have to deliver. And are you going to end up being in a scenario when potentially you can only have 1 win? They are under a tremendous amount of pressure against a team that they should be able to beat realistically. So I think Scotland will get it by, let's say, by 6.
Scotland by 6. Shaggy?
My gut says Scotland, so I should really go for Wales.
Right. Why not? Wales by?
Give them 2.
Wales by 2. Watch the space. I love the science that goes into this. It's a very detailed analysis.
Honestly, I've stopped thinking about it anymore because every time I use sort of what I think is a rational analysis of and apply that to Scotland, it just comes back and bite me. So
I had that last week where I was away with the family and I have someone ask me every week about what I think will happen. And last week was one of those games where everything I thought, even to the point of the France-Italy game, he said, what do you think's happen? I was like, I think they'll win, but I don't think it's going to be a runaway score. I think it's going to be this. But judging on this weekend, go exactly the opposite of whatever I just said to you. Right. And he didn't. He went exactly what I said, and it was the exact opposite of what I'm going to say. Because I think it was 60 points. I was like, I don't think it's going to get to 60. I think France are going to have a fight back, but I see that as being 40, and I just think that they'll get hold to 10. So I think there'll be 50 in the game. It was 90,
so I think 97, was it? 95
it was
or something
just
like that?
Completely the other way around. I thought it was and so, I get that all the time. With this England game.
England, Italy. I dare you to say 6-3.
No, England have, I'm going to say England have, so England are minus 22.5.
Okay.
Which is punchy. But I think England have to put a performance down. I think England have to score 40. Because they have to get their four tries at least. They need to win by 7. So I'm going to go England are going to win by 18, and it's going to be 40-22.
40-22. 18?
It's very punchy. Very punchy.
I always go punchy on scores because I just want to see high scores.
Yeah.
I don't think England will put 40.
Well, I think so. The reason I've done that is Italy are good for 20 points, I think, now every game. So England need to excel. So that's why I've gone that way.
You are going to take 6-3, aren't you?
No. I think England will do the job. Again, given the context, given the fact that they cannot take it for granted. You asked the question: are they going to rotate to look at players? Hell no. I don't think they're in that position. Are they going to try to make some substitutes to play better and to perform better? Yeah, maybe. But I think they'll take it very seriously and they'll see the Italian threat. But I still see them beating them, but it's not going to be a thrashing. I'll say 8 points difference win for England.
Cool.
I think this is a good game for England, actually, sequentially.
Yep.
I think, the French victory was kind of standalone, got over the line against Scotland, bit disgruntled with the commentary, going against Italy side that is better than previous iterations, but actually that will sting. That number of points the Six Nations will sting, and it will buoy England. So I think maybe England by more like 14.
England by 14. I just wonder if any of you ever would back Italy. Never happened before. And I'm just saying it so that we can clip it up and share it.
We've only been favourite once and they've won once.
Yeah. They're not favourite this time around.
In the Six
Stranger
Nations,
things could, should, and maybe will happen. England by 18, England by 8, England by 14. We shall see Sunday, 3 p.m. Regardless of Tin's accuracy, or that of Ben and Shane, one thing is for certain. Heycar makes choosing your next car so easy. Whether you prefer an in-person experience at a local dealer or the convenience of online shopping, Heycar offers you both. You can even have your new car delivered straight to your door for free, Shane. I can see you raising your eyebrows with excitement.
Plus, all their vehicles come with a warranty and a 10-day money-back guarantee. There you go. Terms and conditions apply. Explore more and discover their range at heycar.com/UK.
Just before we finish, can we talk espionage?
Always.
With your old man, your old mucker, Felix Jones.
That's a Ronnie Regan
It's a Ronnie Regan story. It's a very good one. Felix Jones, back with South Africa. His time in England has been joked about as an espionage mission. And now they're asking the same about Andre Pollard at Leicester as well. Spies in the camp, or just something didn't work out and Rassie said, come on back, my friend.
The microfilm.
Yeah, I love it. And the sort of, what is it, the parachute over the border.
Why is he postcarded? It's a microdot on the postcard back to Rassie.
I'd love to know what he's learned in this time.
And it makes sense now, doesn't it? Like
was it espionage or sabotage?
We're playing drafts, and Rassie is playing 3D chess.
Yeah.
He's thinking about the bigger picture, and as
Do you think that means he went to Steve and went, yeah, we're not worried about that one. I'm going to jump shit from here. We don't need to worry about this for Rassie. I'll try and get another one.
He'll be in Wales in 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just surprised he didn't do a stint in Ireland, one of the camps there, or the Lions. But no, he's coming back with his, sack full of files, and you got to think that it's, listen, I don't think it's planned. I don't subscribe to that particular conspiracy theory, but my God, it's been useful for him and very useful for South Africa.
And it just builds the cult of Rassie Erasmus even more. No one, you wouldn't have ever stuck that on a Steve Borthwick necessarily, or a Gregor Townsend. But because it's Rassie, it's like there has to be an agenda.
Yeah. He's so clever, so different thinking that you think if there's one guy who would be able to put this together, it could be him. But on the side note, I don't know if you saw that when they announced it that he was going back and stuff, there was like a little replay of his time with South Africa, and all you could see was him with his laptop. Right, lads, this is what we're facing. So I didn't really know that he was. I know Rassie is obviously very important, but he was a lot of the mastermind into dissecting teams and picking out how you could get them, let's push them to the edge and are fit enough this 50th, and I could tell that the sort of pressure and this whole thing that you need to get them to scrummage more idea against France was really from him. And I didn't know how much of a mastermind he was in terms of strategy. So definitely using him as a spy, if he is a spy, if that was the idea, bloody hell, you've sent a proper weapon.
Well, if he didn't put him in there, if he didn't plant him in there, I bet you it was a factor in re-engaging with him. Certainly, it had to be. So, and I think the disappointing thing here, there's a disappointment from an Ireland perspective here.
Are you surprised that there wasn't an open opportunity for him?
I'm surprised there. I would be surprised if there wasn't a conversation at some level with him. I'd say that almost certainly had to have been. I'm not privy to it. I don't know. David Humphreys would be the man now to have that conversation. I don't know to the extent it was. To put him in as Munster head coach, I think would have been difficult as well, because he hasn't had a head coaching job yet. Yeah. But what you want to do is get him in the system in some, to some degree. It might have been difficult to get him in the Irish system given the way it's structured at the moment. Maybe he wouldn't have wanted anything but a top provincial job. So it is disappointing though, because he's obviously has massive rugby intellect and property, and that would be better served for Ireland than, or we would think it'd be better served for Ireland than South Africa, him being an Irish guy.
And Rassie said no.
Rassie said no. Yeah, Rassie said no.
Okay.
Are you surprised that Andy Farrell hasn't tapped him up?
Yeah, I was.
But also you think
Lions.
Going back, Lions might have been a pull. But going back for the treble or the thruple or whatever you want to call it in World Cups, or
Thrupple's slightly different to the three-piece.
Getting back for the triple.
I can see why he's done it, but I wonder how quickly after sort of the England thing blew up, that conversation with Rassie happened, because I would have thought, one, Lions, but like Lions in itself wouldn't have been enough. It would have to be something else with Ireland.
You could have done Lions and then joined for the Rugby Championship. Couldn't you?
Oh, but I don't think they would have wanted him to go on the Lions and then go back down to
South Africa.
South Africa. No.
Why?
I think,
intelligence he's enough, you can gather on the Australians.
He's enough state secrets already,
Yeah. Possibly. Well, but then you can harvest everything. You could get all four and go back into South Africa as opposed to just one. I'd have been a better spy than Rassie.
That's what I'm saying. No, Rassie would want it. I would have, the Lions wouldn't want it though, because he's open to that.
Yeah, all right, fair play.
Yeah.
Who comes into the equation, therefore, for Lions? Coaches are announced in 3 weeks' time, I think it is. Steve Tandy?
I generally don't know. I think Faz will have a firm view of who he gets along with, and is there anyone out there doing anything that Ireland isn't? So is he going to dip into? I don't know really. I think
Sean Edwards.
Yeah. I mean, that's
wonderful Wigan flavours to the best of British and Irish.
Yeah, but then does he need to go to Sean for that emotiveness or whatever, where Faz is that guy anyway?
Do the coaches need to be Brits?
Don't have to be.
Yeah. Could you have a once-in-a-lifetime Fabien Galtier coaching the Lions? Or William Servat for the forwards? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually don't know whether there's a rule on that.
Well, I'm sure it was Gatland. Of course, Gatland was the last head coach.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
So it doesn't.
But I think we meant by coaching from a...
As in, can you pull in from other unions as opposed
unions
to...
that you're drawing players from rather than...
Oh, right. Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, surely that even if he did, Fabien would jump at it, because it's just an experience you don't get, do you? So,
would the FFR ever let Fabien Galtier go and coach the Lions under Andy Farrell?
I have no idea. I don't know, actually. Fabien Galtier probably complicated.
Yeah.
For a William Servat or a coach that could then come back with additional experience and, upskill himself, why not? It's not impossible. If anything, it'd be clever.
And I actually don't know where they're going to go with their coaching staff, to be fair.
Because also it would be easy to dip into Ireland, but I don't know,
because Simon Easterby will carry on in.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a good idea either. Because you're going to have a lot of Irish representation on it as well. So I think you need top coaches, and it's a really significant part of a successful Lions Tour mix, and it didn't on the Lions Tour I was on with you in 2005. It was an issue. It was definitely an issue.
I'm pretty sure that those glasses of Fabien Galtier are meta glasses anyway, so he definitely
just
fit the spy well, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Good stuff, chaps. Thank you very much indeed. We shall see what is going to come out of it come the weekend. But Ben, Shane, thank you very much.
Thanks, Emil.
Pleasure.
Thank you, chaps. Just before we go, a few little bits and bobs, because as you can imagine, we would be rambling on and on and on and on and on and on, competing for our voices to be heard if it wasn't for our team calling time on us every week.
But that is all about to change thanks to our new partners at Watches of Bath. Whether you are looking to purchase or part exchange your timepiece, or simply want the chance to win your dream piece, Watches of Bath has you covered.
And it's with thanks to Watches of Bath that every month we will be putting one lucky grassroots player to the test alongside one of the boys, all in the name of winning a cash prize of up to £5,000, helping to take their club to the next level, or perhaps have the social of the decade.
And now it's time to make the draw. I feel like a game show host. Let's spin the tombola. Amongst the clubs we have in this draw, I love this club, Rolls-Royce Rugby Club.
You'd have been great at 13 for the Rolls-Royce Club.
I would hope that they are involved in that club. If not, this club is Rolls-Royce Rugby Club, not sponsored by Rolls-Royce. As we tick down, where
Barker's Butts in there, Penarth RFC. We are getting to a winner, Tins.
Gordonians RFC. Scotland have finally won something. They will be putting their funds towards the youth rugby section, the Pelicans, and maybe a little fund to some end of season fun.
Sounds like your kind of rugby club.
Mad Monday, I am available.
We are going to be in contact this week ahead of next week's show, Gordonians RFC. Get your knowledge buffed, and you'll be playing Who the Ruck Is That? You're going to need to identify up to 6 mystery rugby players based only on the clubs that they've represented in their career.
Don't worry. If you entered your club, you will still be in the draw for next month's competition. So, if you think you have what it takes, please head to the link in the episode description to fill in the entry form with your club name and details for your chance to win.
All entries have to be UK-based, and it has to be money that's going to be used for the club, not for personal use. Gordonians RFC, we will hear from you next week. Come on down. The price might be right. $5,000 is up for grabs, courtesy of Watches of Bath. Just before we go, a little nod to our little pick-me-up, little pep in your week, because Black Eye Gin is dedicated to supporting rugby players, both past and present, by donating £1.50 from every bottle sold. Michael, the unique opportunity is available to purchase a bottle at a special price through our partners at
Waitrose Cellar.
Enjoy a refreshing Black Eye G&T while watching the Six Nations and contribute to the sport you love. Don't miss out. This promotion is live from now until March the 11th. Visit waitrosecellar.com to order your Black Eye bottle today.
And don't forget, for extra content, please, don't forget to subscribe to the Lock-In. $3.99 per month, a bargain. This week's show is all about how we bicker between ourselves. And
it's not really a show, actually. It's just have the mics rolling.
Yeah, it really was just a chat and Haas getting all shirty and upset. Well, we like that. Get our audience questions into us on that, as well as we always look for topics. Info@goodbadrugby rugby.com.
This Father's Day, Sunday the 15th of June, give your dad a gift he'll never forget. Sunday we'll have Good Bad Rugby Live at Hampton Court Festival. Get your tickets now at hamptoncourtpalacefestival.com. We would love to see you there. Fun in the sun.
And if you haven't been tuning in to G Brands, James O'Connor, a regular guest now on G Brands. Did you see Reiko's get up on arriving to the Blues game? He looks sharp, to be fair.
I love it.
And a reminder, you can now watch the full podcast on Spotify as well as on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on social media for the latest rugby updates.
Thank you again to Shane and to Ben. May the best team win. Enjoy all of the rugby this weekend in round 4 of the Guinness Men's Six Nations. Thank you for tuning in to The Good, The Bad and the Rugby in partnership with Continental Tires. Our go-to for premium tyres, whether on the rugby field or the road. Safety always comes first. And also, as you know, unlike this show, Continental Tires are award-winning. We're a folding pocket production. This episode was produced by Tom Edwards. We will see you next week. Have a good day in the meantime. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to The Good, Yay, The Bad, and The Rugby, Oof, with Alex Payne, James Haskell and Mike Tyndall. Thanks for listening.